Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Weeknights. I am JD, aka He Who Pods. Glasses on, so also rear view mirror.
I'm Dash, aka Dash indeed.
That's right. Well, a lot has happened, and we got some stuff to talk about, so we're gonna jump right in. The first thing is J. Cole dropped what he's calling a limited audio series, which is a podcast.
Yep.
Um, it's
I
weird,
think
but
it's cute. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think it's cute the way people these days are trying to say it's not a podcast when it is.
It's weird, especially because they made sure to let us know this is season 1. So it's a podcast. Like, it's not a limited audio series. Like, it's cute that you trying to remix it, but just call it a podcast.
You
There are
don't get
plenty of podcasts out there that have seasons, and they'll say season 1 of our podcast drops this day. Season 2 of our podcast drops this day. Just call it a podcast with seasons. Plenty of podcasters do that.
and you don't get a prize for thinking of a cool name, that isn't podcast for your project that you do. I just think it's kind of silly. Like,
You know,
don't say, don't say podcast. It's like, okay, whatever.
it's very weird. But anyway, it was recorded back in 2022. Oh, the podcast, the limited audio series, quote
What is a
unquote.
limited audio series? I don't. The more you say it, the more it frustrates me. Like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? A
Nobody
limited
knows.
audio series, and how is it limited if it's coming back for a season 2? That doesn't make any sense.
Excuse me.
It's like when Max lies and says that, and I don't mean to call them out. This is just the first one that came to mind. They're not
Call
the
them
only
out.
ones that do it. But it's like when they say, oh, limited series, and then what was that show? Big Little Lies. Big Little Lies with Nicole Kidman and some other people I can't remember right now. It was a great limited series. And then they were like, hey, y'all like this so much. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give you a season 2. It's not a limited series anymore.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Man.
So the show is called Inevitable. Um, and it's supposed to be following J. Cole's career from the very beginning up until now. And so that's really cool. Um, What's more interesting to me is something that kind of came simultaneously is J. Cole's first mixtape, The Come Up, is now on digital streaming platforms, or as we call them, DSPs, or as Dash likes to call them, the streamers. Um, and so this project, Inevitable, speaks about. They say the first episode gets into The Come Up. I have not listened to it. I don't know if I will be. But they say it speaks about him recording the come up, and they're even playing unreleased songs and songs that were great that never came out, songs that sucked that never came out. There's like a trailer, and they speak about how if certain songs came out, it would have ruined his career, it would have been terrible, etc. Um, and so I think the bigger deal, I think that's cool, minus the limited series name. And if you're a J. Cole fan, maybe you really want to listen to something like that, to kind of, because it pulls back behind the curtain and speaks about him grinding as an underground artist up into becoming this huge superstar. However, I think the bigger deal is the project going on streaming platforms, because he had to clear a lot of samples and he had to get a lot of permissions. We don't see this very often from artists of his caliber. It's kind of rare that we see mixtapes going on streaming platforms. I know Travis Scott did it, Lil Wayne did it. Those are megastars, and there's nothing to dispute there, but it's still something rare. We don't see it very often. It's not like everyone just has all their mixtapes on streaming today, especially on all platforms. I know Tidal for a long time had people's mixtapes and you were allowed to put it up there. I don't know the legal side of that, but I know like when you have Tidal, there's a lot of the mixtapes up there. But that's not the case for a lot of the other platforms. So the fact that the come up is now on all the platforms, I think it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So
He's definitely making his making his rounds. He's returning to the scene.
Yep.
He took a little break, a little summer break,
Right.
and he says school's back in session. So
Yep.
that's great. That's exciting. I will check out Inevitable. I heard the clip. Thought the
Hmm.
clip was interesting. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I don't know. I haven't tried it much. I like hearing the old stories. I like understanding the origins of certain things. I don't listen to a lot of hip hop content. That sounds so weird sitting here and
Yeah, I was
saying
about to ask you what do you mean by that?
I don't listen to hip hop podcasts.
Okay.
I just don't. I listen to a lot of pop culture podcasts, entertainment podcasts. I seek out hip hop information. Don't get me wrong. Like, in order to do this podcast, I have to be tapped in.
Right.
But I don't actually consume like audio that is like this. Um, I used to listen to the Joe Budden podcast regularly. I don't anymore. I might hear an episode on occasion, depending on whether it gets recommended to me or something goes viral or whatever. Then I do that. But outside of that, I don't really listen to it. And I used to listen to Drink Champs a lot more. We used to talk about Drink Champs a lot more when
Yeah,
we
we
did
did.
the other pod.
That's
Um,
true.
so that's what I mean. I don't really consume content like this at this stage.
Got you.
And I was thinking that just the other day, I feel like I should be a little bit more tapped into what's happening in the hip hop world via podcasts because I listen to a lot of podcasts anyway.
Hmm.
So I'll check this out. I don't know. I don't know if it's my thing. I don't know. I don't necessarily need a description of every all your favorite songs and how you made them. I don't necessarily need that. I do think those stories are interesting. I just don't know how much of it I want to consume.
Got you.
So, but I do plan on checking it out because it's J. Cole, and I feel like he's worthy of a listen.
Hmm.
Um, as much as I told him off and cursed him out a few months ago, I still think he is super talented, and I still look forward to whatever he's putting out. So I'll definitely check it out.
Got you. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna listen to it or not. I know a lot about J. Cole's story, and clearly this is gonna be something that will teach you even more if you're curious.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not sure. And as far as Drink Champs, I haven't watched as many Drink Champs episodes because it's a guest-based podcast, and their guests as of late have not been very exciting for me. Um,
Fair.
yeah, I think they're making some changes over there, and that's a whole nother topic for another time. But that's why I haven't watched as many or listened to as many. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not to say that there has not been any guest that's caught my attention.
Mm.
Um, but also to sit and listen to this person for 3, 4 hours or 2, 3 hours is a different ball game than, a regular interview. So,
And they're drinking, and Nori's basically trying to coax them into having certain conversations. It's a very different format over there.
mhm.
That's not to dive too deep into this, but that's kind of always been my challenge with Drink Champs. I gotta like the guest,
Right,
and then from there, it's like, am I gonna make it through the whole episode, even if I like the guest? Because it's long,
right,
and some of the information is not. Some of the information I don't need.
right. And
you
then
know.
I think what's interesting is I think they kind of know that because if you look some of the episodes that are like amazing guests, the episode be like an hour. Like Nas was up there for an hour, Mike Tyson was up there for an hour.
Yeah. Like, let's get to the juice. I feel like sometimes because I typically don't like guest based podcasts. I do not like
Right.
podcasts
Yeah,
like that.
I'm not a huge fan of them either.
So, and then when my favorite podcasters have guests on their shows, it takes everything out of me to listen to or watch those shows. I often skip them because I don't feel like the flow. I feel like the guests fuck up the flow.
Yeah, I can understand that. That's a big complaint about the Joe Budden podcast and always has been.
I
People
can
hate
see.
when Joe Budden podcast has guests.
Yeah, and not to throw
Um,
Reed in the same breath as the Joe Budden podcast because I feel like that is
I thought that was blasphemous.
it is. But I will say they've had guests before, but they kind of made a rule very early on, like years ago. They were like, I can't remember who they had. Was it Bobby Brown? It was like somebody super rich. No, it was Stevie J.
Okay.
They had Stevie J on their show, and it was on some. Oh, Stevie J was in the studio, and so somebody was like, "Oh, y'all should interview him. You know, he's on a little run, on a little tour. Why don't
Hmm.
y'all interview him?" And they interviewed him, and it went terribly. And they vowed to never interview anybody again. So it's very rare. Like I think it's been years since their last guest.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of guests, um, we don't have one, but we're going to talk about some people who did have guests. Um, so it appears that Future spoke to GQ, and there's some quotes that are floating around. Uh, and so we're going to start there, and then we'll get to the guests. Um, Future told GQ, "I didn't even know they had nothing going on. I ain't never participated in rap battles, man." He also said, "He said Big Three on my song. I'm supposed to be the one who gets mad. I'm still confused about that."
No, you're not.
And Metro Boomin said, "People really think we sat for 2 years making 2 albums to be like, yo, fuck this dude. What kind of shit is that?"
I bet you there was other music. I bet you there was other music that wasn't about him. And I bet you once they realized, oh, hey, people like this, or hey, this one is going to hit, you know, they pushed those to the back and pushed the other ones to the front. Totally believe that. Totally believe that there was other music to release. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Especially for the second album. Maybe not for the first one, but especially for the second album. But don't make it seem now like we don't know what's going on here, guys. We all lived through it. And you put out the music and you title the albums that way.
Well, that's why I said, let's talk about somebody else who has guests. Because,
Liar.
sure, you could say that Like That was the lead single. Well, actually, let's do it this way. Let's just cut the bullshit. Y'all had 2 albums that were dissing Drake. And not only did y'all diss Drake, but y'all seem to somehow find every guest appearance possible that has beef with Drake and allowed them to diss Drake on your project. In fact, the Weeknd is on more than one song dissing Drake. And you knew by then for sure that there was beef going on. And even if you didn't, y'all cleared their verses. Let me tell you, as a person who does music, it's easy to get a verse from someone and say, actually, I think you should redo it. Actually, this doesn't really fit what's going on. Do you think you could redo it? Especially when they're your homies. When they're your homies, you could probably critique them even more than anybody else. Because you could tell them, I think he was kind of off right here. Actually, you should change this one part. Everything else is pretty solid. In fact, Busta Rhymes has told the story of Chris Brown asking him to completely redo the now very famous verse on Look at Me Now. And so we know that you can have people redo verses. And so if you felt, hey, y'all are dissing Drake, and we're not trying to diss Drake, then y'all would actually have them do those verses over or certain parts over. And let me take it a step further. As the person in control of the music, you can even on your own take stuff out of people's verses.
Yep.
And let them know, hey, I know you recorded a 16. We just decided to keep 12 of those bars.
They do it with music television, movies, etc., 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 etc. You can, if you own it, if it's yours, you can take out or put in whatever you want, as long as it doesn't violate some sort of contractual agreement that was in place before you created it. But if you own it, if you made it, you can make whatever changes you want to it. Let's stop playing this game. See, here's what I think happened. Let me tell you, let me paint the picture for you. Let me tell you what I think happened here. Maybe they didn't walk into the studio thinking that they were going to make an album about Drake. I believe that. I think that's an easy thing to believe. But then, you call your niggas to the studio or whatever. I know y'all like to do virtual things now. Maybe you sent them some tracks or whatever. Somehow y'all got to carrying on and talking shit about Drake. And then niggas was like, let me get in the booth. I got something. That's what I think happened. I think that maybe there's a world where it did not start that way, but it ended up that way. But it don't end up that way by everybody just being, church mouses either. There had to be some talking, there had to be some carrying on, there had to be some sort of exchange about this man for there to have been such a collective disdain and such a collective display of distaste for him. It doesn't just poof out of nowhere. Like, I think we got to be honest about that. Yeah, people don't like Drake, cool, whatever, fine. But a whole album, two whole albums come together and are very clearly pointed at him. Come on, guys.
But that wasn't all.
Truth.
But that wasn't all. And this is why I'm calling cap. Because not only was it two albums, but it was tweets from Metro. And let's not forget the super viral BBL Drizzy. Exactly.
Yeah, y'all don't like him, and for whatever reason he did whatever he did, and niggas do what niggas do, and they got together and they said, "Oh, you don't fuck with him either? Oh, I get it. Here's what he did to me." Or
He slept with your girl too.
these things happen.
So
Now
all your
we all hate
Eskimo
him
brothers are
together,
mad at you.
right? Now we all hate him together. That happens. Now, should it be happening to grown men? Probably not. That's a different conversation. But grown men, grown women. I'm just saying grown men because it's all men in this
No, I got you. I
data
was
set.
gonna respond, but it's fine.
No, it's not that. That is not about. There's no difference between men and women or those who don't identify as either here. It is just grown people should know better. So don't come around now and say, oh, we, you think we sat around talking about him and making music about him? All right. At least
Yes,
just
yes, we
be
do think that.
honest.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Because one, you had all of the people who don't like him and dissing him on your music. Two, the lead single was the song where Kendrick responds and disses him. Three, the album was called We Don't Trust You. And the next album was called We Still Don't Trust You.
The enemy of my enemy is my
Is my
friend.
friend.
And that's honest and that's human. Okay?
Sure.
I'm not, again, I don't think that this thing should have been so far reaching and gotten so crazy. I've said that. But the fact that it did, okay, let's stop pretending. Cause like
Yeah.
what it came down to is that nobody else pretended. Like Drake and Kendrick showed up.
Right.
J. Cole showed up for a minute. But nonetheless, he acknowledged what was going on. Now y'all want to
He
act
didn't want to
like,
lose a bro.
right. Like you said, Metro Boomin. Metro Boomin was on the internet being very vocal
Yeah.
about the bullshit.
Yeah.
So now we're
Now,
about to close out 2024 and y'all want to act like that, pun intended.
that was good. That was good. That was good. Um, Yeah, I think what happened is clear. We heard Elliot Wilson say, I have it on good authority that Future and Drake pieced it up. They never really had a problem to begin with. Cool. And so now you're going to go and lie to the public, but don't lie to us. Just say nothing.
Nothing.
You could have said nothing. And why do you have a problem with Kendrick saying top big 3 on your record? I'm a little confused. Are you supposed to be in your mind part of the big 3? I don't understand. Was
That's what he
because
said.
that's what that insinuates. But
No, I don't think he insinuated anything. I think he said it. I think what was the quote? He said it.
oh, I got it right here. Hold on.
Because I remember reading it and going, "Oh, is that what you? Is that so?"
He said Future says he said big 3 on my song. I'm supposed to be the one who gets mad. I'm still confused about that. Why would you get mad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Gonna buy a clue? A vowel?
Future,
I like to buy a
Future.
vowel.
I'm not going to discredit Future and make it seem like Future doesn't have a talent.
Oh,
But what
me
I will,
neither. But the quote is big 3.
no, I know.
Future's not big 3.
No, what I was about to say was, now you know, Future. We are here for what you are giving us, but that does not mean what you're giving us aligns with what's going on over there.
Not only that, but big 3 refers to the top 3 people of that class, of the people who came out around that time. And so that doesn't apply to Future, if I'm correct.
And I would love to know though,
Because wasn't Future out before them?
I would think they all came out around the same time.
Okay. Then, if I'm wrong, that's fine.
But I guess if you're talking top three, who was he planning on removing from the top three so he could have a spot? That's the real question.
Yep. That is a question.
Who who is it? Who's the one? Because if I'm doing the math, he's still not top three.
Okay, it says the first thing that came out from him was 2011.
Yeah, they all came out around the same time.
Yeah, I mean if they all came out around the same time, then I guess it's fine, but still top big 3 is it the conversation has always existed about those 3 people. Um Not really anybody else. And so I don't know what there is to be mad about there, if we're being honest.
Who is Future synonymous with? Like in terms of like rap or hip hop class.
I
He
don't know
came
if I'm
around
there.
the same time as them, but what he does is I would say arguably different
Very much different.
from what they do,
It's very different.
which I think is one of the reasons why those three people are spoken about together, not just because of when and their level of talent, but also because they give something similar. So they're easy to compare. Who is easy to compare to Future? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm truly asking, like, who would we put in the same? Who should be in the same category as Future?
Travis Scott, Anderson Paak. I,
Okay.
I would think those people do more of what he does. Anderson Paak maybe not because he actually does sing. Um and maybe he's rapping less nowadays. I know he had the project with Bruno Mars, he had the project with his boy. And so maybe he's rapping less and singing more.
Mm.
But to me, and I'm not the most well versed in this, let me be clear. But the people that come to mind to me are Travis Scott,
Travis Scott.
each of the members of the Migos,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and possibly Anderson Paak,
Okay.
Anderson Paak. Um,
Uh,
but
okay.
I'm not the best person to ask this question. But those are the people who come to mind
No,
when you ask that question.
those do make sense. I was
To
just
me, those
curious.
are the people that seem comparable, um, because they do similar things.
Yeah.
Uh, But then I guess the conversation changes when we're talking about impact,
Hmm.
um, sound. Well,
Yep.
maybe not sound, but fan base, popularity, all of those things kind of change it. But just as far as what acts are similar, I
Hmm.
guess them. You could even include T Pain now, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't put T Pain in that category. But I could see why somebody would. It would be anybody who raps with auto tune all the time, sings with auto tune all the time, and by that I mean the auto tune you know is there, not like when Whitney Houston sang a slightly off key and they fixed it with so little auto tune you didn't know. Not that. I'm talking about all of the quote unquote auto tune rappers, the melodic rappers,
Yeah. Okay.
which I don't listen to enough of those people to be able to say who else. But those are the people who come to mind when you ask the question.
No, that's actually a good. I feel like that's a good bunch. Um. Anyway.
Let's move along. Move right along.
Hmm.
So, of all people, DJ Vlad asked a very interesting question that made it to our feed. DJ Vlad asks if you could ban one person off of social media forever, who would it be? I would like to start by saying this is super ironic that Vlad, of all people, is asking this question
Absolutely.
because immediately when I saw it was Vlad, my
He,
answer was you.
he's on the ban list for
My
sure.
answer, my answer was you, Vlad.
But you can
You.
only but you can
You.
only pick one. So is he the one that you would pick?
I mean, just because he's the person asking, of all the people on the internet, it made me feel like you. And I usually would say N word, but he's not one of us. So I can't say N word to Vlad. But
Agreed.
that's what my brain thought when I read the question and saw who it was from. Now, if
Yeah.
this was just from account X, 123 ABC, perhaps I would have different answers. But it's from DJ Vlad. And so I feel like you, motherfucker, you. I would ban you from social media. You who gets people to who does his best to coerce people into snitching on themselves. You who supports all types of bullshit on your platform. You who don't even be on camera on purpose because you know the type of incriminating things you ask the people on your show. You, you, Vlad. I say you. Now,
All right.
if someone else asked the question,
Uh-huh.
I would probably say Kanye West.
That's a good one.
I love Kanye West, although he's a troublesome individual. But a lot
Yeah,
of that trouble comes from him being on social media.
absolutely.
If we took away Kanye's social media, man, he'd have a lot less trouble. And so my answer would be Kanye West, really, to save Kanye West.
That is noble.
Thank you.
That is noble. So I took a lot of things into consideration here
Okay.
in coming up with my answer. And I mean, this is the person I thought of initially, but then once I really, because I was like, do I want to be so rash about my decision? But then I thought to myself, no, I don't think this is rash at all because I'm also thinking about along with just getting this person off of the internet to protect the peace of other people, not necessarily me. I also took into consideration the fact that even though this is someone who I don't keep up with, I don't follow, I don't have any sort of interaction with other than maybe a song from a million years ago.
I think I know who your answer is. Is your answer I hit it first?
The the person no, the person continues to filter back into what I'm doing or what I'm looking at because of the fact this person is considered a part of the culture. So I feel like if we could just ban this person off the internet, his daughter would be more comfortable in life. We would be more at peace because he's not being menacing on the internet. The only time it was funny was when he was fucking with Mark Zuckerberg. Other than that, Lil Boosie gotta go. He is
Okay.
the
I thought
worst
he was gonna
kind
say
of
Ray J.
problematic. He is the worst kind of problematic.
Okay.
He doesn't understand the error of his ways. He doesn't understand that his rhetoric is damaging and hurtful and harmful to some people or a lot of people.
Yeah.
He is constantly talking about things like between the stuff with his homosexual daughter to his son and who he tried to serve his son up to, his young minor son. Like,
I remember that.
and his logic is that, well, I'm a grown ass man and I've been taught these things. These things have been passed down from generation to generation. And if you can sit in 2024 and not realize that some of the generational shit ain't cool,
Right.
you can go.
And so what's funny is our answers are similar because, Boozy, a lot of those clips come from Vlad. Yeah.
But it don't even have to reach Vlad these days. Like, boosting be everywhere. Places that, and that this is what I'm talking about. Places that I don't normally hear about him have been talking about him.
Yeah.
I got my nice little podcast I like to listen to. It's wholesome. I won't say which one. It's wholesome. His name came up a couple weeks ago. I was like, all right.
It's wholesome. Oh man. You listening to a wholesome podcast is so funny. That's a topic within itself.
It's not wholesome, but it's it's not the worst thing you could be listening to.
It's so funny. It's wholesome.
It's a family friendly show most of the time. All right. Anyway, so the point here is, I would get rid of him because he can go. He could go. You know what? If that's what you think, and if that's what you believe, or if this is how you want to live your life with your Cheetos and your orange soda, then go do that off the internet.
Cheetos soda. Oh man, you gotta clip that up. Gotta clip that up.
That's he can go right on off the internet and go live his life. I don't wish any ill on him. I just
Oh yeah, nah, we not. That's not the answer, right? We not
no
saying who you want to beat up or
no
who you
no no.
think should get beat up. It's just we just talk about banning cats from the internet. That was the question, and that's our answer.
Yeah, because I know some people are probably entertained by it, but by and large, people are not entertained by him anymore. It's just like, what do you say?
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2
Ladies and
cents.
gentlemen, this has been Weeknights. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you listening, watching, subscribing, commenting. We will see y'all tomorrow.
Bye.